Did you know that you have the ability to change the physical structure of your brain and become someone with a set of almost superhuman skills that are as sought after now as being a genius used to be? That you can prevent or drastically delay the brain changes that happen to everyone else as they age? You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 246. Don't settle for an average brain as you age. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hey, welcome to today's episode. So happy that you're here today. How's your thyroid today? Probably about the same as last week, but hopefully learning about some of the links that we understand, which I'm sure is just scratching the surface of what's actually going on, was helpful. The symptoms of low thyroid and low sex hormones overlap a lot, but they're also very interconnected and interdependent. Replacing thyroid hormones correctly can be as tricky as replacing estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone correctly, even though most doctors think it's simple and straightforward. It's not. And you absolutely don't have to settle for being told that it is. You can get good results with all of your hormones working together in happy harmony, helping you feel great every day. It just takes a little extra, which you are totally capable of. Today we're going to talk about training. You know that I'm a fan of training rather than exercising. If someone told you that they were in training, what would you think that meant? The first thing that would come to mind for me would be that they were training for an athletic event. It could be sports, the Olympics, or training for a race or a physical competition. People also train for a memory or mental competition, a chess match, an artistic competition, even one of those competitions where you keep your hand on the car for the longest and you win the car. I have a feeling that those are only ever on TV shows and don't exist in real life. But I have seen many shows where that's in the plot. Saying I'm in training could also mean that you started a new job and are learning the ropes, or you're apprenticing for a high-level skill, even if it's just a hobby. My husband builds guitars, so when he goes to learn from more experienced luthiers, it's kind of like training. So are the mistakes that he might make along the way. Just because he's trying something that he's never done before. He's still training for mastery. How would you feel if you told someone that you were in training? Yeah, I'm in training. I like that term. It feels more serious to me than I'm going to exercise, or I'm going through my flashcards, or even I'm practicing my rope climbs. I think I like it because it presupposes that there's something specific and important to prepare for. I wanted to say something important and mysterious to train for. Have you watched Severance? It is weird, but I often motivate myself by telling myself in my own mind that the work I'm doing is important and mysterious. Okay, so when you're in training, you have something to hope for and work toward. Also, being in training signifies that you are not a master at this thing yet, and that you're not expected to be. I think there's a real beauty in that training process, where there's always something more to strive for. This is one of the main things that gives us true joy. Progress. The steps forward we can take. Watching ourselves advance. Having our efforts mean something. All while knowing that we're not expected to be perfect. The inputs that constantly come into our brain from everyone and everything around us all need to be processed and digested by our brains. It's a big job. I love how Stephen King describes that feeling of a lot of inputs constantly coming at you, like having jumper cables attached to your brain. Do you ever feel like that? I like the visual of picturing myself sitting somewhere with a somewhat bored expression on my face, but jumper cables attached to my head, like Peter Boyle in Young Frankenstein. The first step we can take is to disconnect those jumper cables and get a little relief. We can and should carefully curate and limit the inputs we allow into our precious consciousness. Once we can start to banish distractions and take back control of our own brain, we can start to level up our ability to change the world rather than have the world change us. One of the best ways we can resist influences that we don't want, be more of who we really want to be, and evolve into the next best version of ourselves is to train ourselves to be able to drop into tranquility. It sounds lovely and kind of passive, but it's not easy. If it were, everyone would be able to do it. Trust me, they cannot. The world would be a very different place if they could. It's a high-level skill, and like all high-level skills, you don't get good at it overnight, and working toward it isn't always super fun. Why is it so hard to just be still? It seems so simple, yet for most people, it's almost intolerable. We are so busy that it feels wrong or unproductive to slow down and do what feels like nothing. We're conditioned to believe that busier is better. I like what the Dalai Lama says about meditation and busyness. He says that when his schedule is very busy, those are the days that he knows he needs to spend twice as much time meditating. Isn't that cool? In order to be more productive, we need to intentionally spend more time in tranquility, or we won't be able to manage ourselves appropriately to get all of the things done. My Optimized Coach teacher talks a lot about living from a state of energized tranquility rather than enervated anxiety. Which state do you think would help you crush all the things on your to-do list? Most people live enervated because it's so hard to get away from the constant noise. Taking the time to do a stillness practice is an investment with a much bigger return than the few minutes it costs up front. Many people say that they can't meditate or they, quote, aren't good at it, as if that were even a thing, because they have too many thoughts or there are too many distractions in their environment. But guess what? Your heart was built for pumping, your lungs for breathing, and your brain for thinking. It's supposed to think. The point of meditation isn't to be able to not think. The point is to be able to put your mind on what you want to, when you want to, for however long you want to. We don't meditate so that we get better at meditating. We do it so that we can become better, more capable human beings. And we absolutely will if we stick with it. Whenever your mind wanders, you simply bring it back to your anchor. No judgment, no drama, just notice that it wandered, okay, and then gently bring it back. This will happen over and over and over, and that's okay. The best meditation sessions are the ones where you are distracted over and over, because every time you bring your mind back to your anchor, which is usually your breath, but it could be anything, it's like doing a rep at the gym. The more reps you do, the stronger you get. The stronger you get, the more force you can generate. There's a principle in meditation called strong determination, meaning you sit still no matter how uncomfortable you become. You choose not to respond to any stimuli like aches, itches, irritations, or distractions. The point of this is to train yourself to realize that you are capable of choosing not to respond to every prompt to act. Once you have strong determination not to react to stimuli, you start to notice how much control you have and how quickly the irritation will pass because you've chosen not to respond to it. It might seem a bit silly to be determined not to scratch an itch, but it's pretty powerful to use stillness to control your experience of the world and your ability to act the way you want to in the world, no matter what. It shows you that all the little irritations and distractions that come up have more to do with your mental state than your physical state, or even what is actually real. If I were to ask you if you were able to change the physical structure of your bicep through training, what would you say? Obviously, yes. Same with your whole body physique, right? Even your heart or your diaphragm. Yes, those things can be structurally changed by training. But what about your brain? Can you do exercises that change its physical structure? Not your thoughts or memories, but the actual physical structure of your brain. Things that can be quantifiably measured by MRI. The answer is yes. Isn't that so cool? The practice of meditating is training for your brain. You train your attention and your ability to concentrate. You train your ability to be present in the moment and actually experience your life as it unfolds. You train your ability to do deep and truly meaningful work. You train your ability to not react to every stimulus that enters your environment. But you also change the physical structure of your brain. A 2011 study at Harvard showed that just 8 weeks of regular meditation changes the physical structure of the brain. It increases the cortical thickness in the hippocampus, which is the area for learning and memory, and some emotional regulation. It increases the size of the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of concentration and decision-making. It also decreases the brain volume of the amygdala, which is the fight or flight primitive reaction center responsible for fear, anxiety, and stress. These physical changes all correlated with the subjective experiences of better learning, better memory, better emotional regulation, decreased fear, decreased anxiety, and decreased stress. The functional connectivity between these regions of the brain also changes. Signals coming from the amygdala get weaker, while connections between areas needed for attention and concentration get stronger. The scale of the changes correlates with the number of hours that person has spent meditating. There are all kinds of other interesting studies about changing the physical structure of your brain through meditation, like a UCLA study showing more overall gray matter in the brains of meditators. We want this. As we age, our brains lose some volume, but there is significantly less brain volume loss with age in meditators compared to non-meditators. A study at Yale showed decreased default mode network activity in meditators. The default mode network is what some people call the monkey mind, or the mind-wandering self-referential looped thoughts. A study at Johns Hopkins showed that meditation is as effective for depression and anxiety as antidepressant drugs are. That's pretty major. Other studies have proved that meditation improves concentration, decreases stress, decreases social anxiety, helps with addiction recovery, and improves school performance. Pretty great, right? So many awesome returns for a small investment of time. Almost never do you get that from something that's totally free and available to everyone. I like to think of the Dalai Lama's brain as being buff, like a bodybuilder's body, but in brain form. Very highly trained and strong. How do you want your brain to look? Do you want to decrease your default mode network and amygdala while increasing your prefrontal cortex and hippocampus? How do you want your brain to look 30 years from now when everyone else your age's brains have significantly shrunk? Yours doesn't have to. I've heard that it used to be that the big thing everyone was looking for as far as employees to hire or people to promote or associate themselves with or people capable of doing great things was genius. Everyone was looking for a genius. IQ was almost worshipped. But now, what really sets people apart is their ability to focus. Concentration is the new genius, and it can be trained. We can be highly abnormal in a good way by doing a little bit of attention training every day. Attention training is also willpower training. We know that willpower outpredicts IQ by a factor of 2 for performance and success, and willpower can be trained. That's the best news ever because there's so much we can do to become more than we thought we were capable of. We've talked a lot about meditation, and I do think that it's pretty great, and you should definitely try it if you haven't before, or consider recommitting if you've been inconsistent or have stopped. If I can help you get going with regular meditation, let me know. I'd be happy to talk more about it or think more about it or do a free meditation group or challenge or something. Part of my Human Potential Institute coach certification was a mandatory 8-week meditation course, so I do have some training. Meditation is simple, but it's not easy. You cannot be bad at it though, so don't tell yourself that. But meditation isn't the only way to train your tranquility. Prayer is something I consider to be a form of meditation, and it is absolutely awesome too. I highly recommend upping your prayer game as a form of training your tranquility. The sacred time spent in connection with the divine is good for your body, mind, and spirit. I once heard from someone that Archbishop Desmond Tutu described one option for prayer as being like just coming before God the way you come to a fire to warm yourself from the cold. You don't have to do anything magnificent or be anyone magnificent or follow a correct structure to be able to be warmed by the presence of a fire. That stuck with me because I think it's such a perfect and perfectly relatable analogy we can use to help us infuse humility and stillness and training tranquility into our prayers. There's also breathing. We've talked a lot about correct breathing in the past because it's super important. We all breathe all day, every day, and most people do it wrong. Remember that breathing through your nose and down into your belly and out through your nose for significantly longer than you inhale sends the signal from your body to your brain that everything is A-okay. Breathing rapidly through your mouth, shallowly into your chest, sends the signal from your body to your brain that you are in panic mode, and then your brain boards the danger train. You don't want to go where the danger train takes you, unless you're actually getting mugged or something. Do you remember when we practiced a few breaths at my favorite rhythm of inhale for 5, hold for 1, exhale for 7? Did you try it? Did you experiment and see if there's a pattern that you like better? Use that pattern as often as you can throughout the day. Breathe in through your nose to a count of 5. Hold for 1. Breathe out through your nose to a count of 7. Whenever you think about it, it's especially great if you start feeling stressed, have a few moments of waiting, like in line at the store, or for kids to come out of school, or when you're falling asleep, or if you wake up during the night. An awesome thing to do is create a personal algorithm for when you wake up during the middle of the night. Hopefully it doesn't happen very often, but if it does, because it's a classic sleep disturbance of perimenopause, have an if-then protocol already in place, so all you have to do is work the plan. A perfect one is, if I wake up in the middle of the night, then I will keep my eyes closed and do 10 rhythmic breaths. Simple. Then instead of being annoyed about waking up or wondering what to do about it, or worst of all, using that time to try to solve all of your life's problems, be thankful for it as a great opportunity to train your tranquility. I use my 5-1-7 breaths and count them out on my fingers, like I move from one finger to the next to keep track, doing at least 10 every time I'm falling asleep or I have woken up during the night. And I think it's very helpful. I'm not any kind of super great meditator, but I am committing to increasing my meditation practice. But I have been consistent about it for, 6 to 8 years now, and I can tell a huge difference in my overall monkey mind kind of feeling. It's a big difference in overall mind chatter and my ability to stay on task. Like, I used to think that all the thoughts that popped into my head were actually important and I needed to follow them where they led me. I had a meditation teacher explain it to me that he thinks of our thoughts as cars passing by us on the road, and sometimes we see a car we really like, or the kind of car we used to own, or our friend's car, or a car with all of our friends inside it, and we feel compelled to fixate our attention on one of those cars. But the practice during our tranquility training time is to let them all pass by without becoming attached. Funny how when you deliberately train yourself to be able to not fixate on one thing, you are unknowingly training yourself to be able to focus on one thing, the thing of your choosing. Then you enter the realm of very high performance, of being an incredibly useful human. Training your tranquility has huge benefits for your brain structure, brain function, and brain longevity. It also improves your mood, emotional resilience, stress management, ability to be addiction-proof, and overall performance. Training your tranquility is also important for your immune system. Your immune system can only function optimally when you're able to get out of that fight or flight, go, 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 overstimulated headspace. There are also studies that show that we can make changes to our body via epigenetics through meditation. If you remember, epigenetics is the ability to turn on and turn off the expression of genes, and that there are thousands of genes that can be influenced by our mental and emotional states. If you train your tranquility, you can flip the switches that literally promote physical health inside your body. Remember that all stress isn't bad. Having a challenge is good. Challenges make us stronger because we have to rise to the occasion, but we also need downtime to be able to recover and repair in preparation for the next challenge. So the question now is, how might you start training tranquility into your life? First of all, do you even like the idea of being in training? I do. It works for me, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something important and that I don't need to be good at it yet. But if it feels overwhelming to you or you don't like it, just don't call it that. Think of it as a practice or a timeout or self-care time or whatever gets you motivated. Do you remember what you've learned about behavior design? Start tiny. Make your tranquility training goal laughably small, like 1 breath or meditate for 1 minute. It's more about doing it consistently than doing something impressive. Then remember to celebrate after you've done your 1 breath or your 1 minute. Yes, that's like me, increasing the cortical thickness of my hippocampus. And remember to connect the practice with positive results you're going to see today. Yes, you will have greater gray matter volume 20 years from now, but in order to have enough motivation to act today, you need to connect how you feel today to your behavior today. If you shower today, you will smell better today. If you train your tranquility today, you'll be able to get more done today. You'll be able to focus better today. You'll have more willpower today. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm excited for you to train your tranquility and reap the benefits that most people aren't able to access. Next week, we're going to talk about a supplement I think you need to take. Until then, train to become superhuman and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed